In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, we have the sights and sounds of Computex with Lunar Lake, with Snapdragon X Elite and AMD Ryzen 9000 and all the good stuff coming up next. Welcome back, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware. Here with my esteemed compatriot, Marco Chiappetta, and it is a fine Friday afternoon here in New England. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. It's a little hot in my office, but I'll survive.
Little toasty over here, too. I got multiple fans going, even though I have AC. I guess our blood has not thinned out for the summer as of yet.
Yeah, no AC in my office. It's an addition on the house, but I have two fans blowing across me. If you hear a little noise, I apologize.
Well, I have been playing with, we might as well start this show off interesting. I have been playing with, I want to put this back on here, a new toy that I have. And I should show you this because it's quite cool. Let me see if I can connect to it here. If it's gonna, yeah, come on, baby.
Oh, should you show this?
Yeah, I should.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's nothing NDA. What do you mean? What are you talking about? All right.
I think I know what you're going to show, and I'm not sure you're supposed to. Okay, look. That you could show. Okay, gotcha.
Look at this thing. So it's like a little mini Marshall Stacks, like Jimi Hendrix used to play, right? And many others. And it's a Bluetooth speaker. And oh my God, this thing can slam the jamma-lamma ding-dong. Let me tell you. Hang on one second. I gotta fire up a little Pandora action here, because maybe get this on mic. If I clip the stream, then so sorry. Here we go. Ready? Oh, how loud is this thing going to be? I got to be careful. Might blow everybody's ears out. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Oh, wait.
This is riveting.
Oh, wait. This is a little
You're going to get a copyright strike for us.
Oh yeah, you're right. Eminence Front by the Who. Cool. All right, that's all I can put on there. Did that thing sound good or what?
It did. I thought you were going to show a notebook. Not
yeah,
that. So
I can show that notebook. It's been seen before.
Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna. So the first question is from Zevos. Have we seen the Orion CPU architecture disclosure? Yes, well, I have a full architecture article up on the site, and we will be talking about that. So if I have full details on the Orion CPU architecture and the Adreno X1 GPU up at the site. So yes, we have.
Yeah, cool. So anyways, this thing's really cool. Amazing sound stage, tons of low end. Highly recommend it. We might do a deal post on it because there's some deals going on right now. The Marshall, there's all kinds of different models of it. You can get big and small, and you know.
Where'd you snag it? Was it a gift? You just decided to try it out?
Amazon. I was looking for some. I was looking at outdoor all weather Bluetooth speakers for the patio, and he wasn't getting the sound. I'm just like, I got a couple of, quality names in like Pile and a couple others. Nah, didn't like any of them. This thing, I can take it in. I'll just put it on the patio when I want to use it. It rocks. I mean, it is wow.
Nice.
So anyways, moving right along. Yeah, we have been rather busy, and Computex was last week. Was it last week? The week? Yeah.
Yeah, last week.
Anyways, can you tell I'm still jet lagged? I was out there in Taiwan, and man, let me tell you, never been to the show, which was a first for me to be in Taiwan and to see Computex. Really well organized. Actually, not the madhouse that is CES. So that was cool. Ate some amazing food. Went to Ding Tao Feng, if I'm saying that properly. Oh my God, dumplings, amazing. And saw some great friends. Jim McGregor and the guys from Tirias Research were there, and Leonard Lee and a few of the Carolina Milanese and Bob O'Donnell, all the analyst dudes and dudettes. Good stuff. But fire hose of disclosures. Everybody hitting all at once, from Intel to Qualcomm to AMD. And we're going to run it down here today in turbo mode, right?
Absolutely. This was a wild Computex in terms of big announcements. The Computex is always big in terms of PC related stuff, but we're talking like major shifts in architectures from like everybody that matters in the PC space. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Big time stuff. We've got deep dives and unveils from all the majors. Of course, NVIDIA was there. There were a couple of, quick mentions of roadmap products. Otherwise, they were really showcasing the experience of what they can do on the AI PC, which, by the way, doesn't require an NPU. GPUs have thousands of tops, some of the higher end GPUs and desktops, and they do plenty of those AI amazing tricks. So I saw a couple of them. This was actually interesting. So this was rendered on an RTX 4090. Let me see if I can get it in the camera. And then we'll move on. Just a quick mention here. Good folks in NVIDIA impressed me with some cool demos. They took a picture of me on site and then had generative AI on this 4090 desktop render this AI generated superhero of me in about 30 seconds, maybe 20. Hang on. Okay, focus. There it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
That's a good looking kid right there.
Dude, it put hair in me, and nice. I am rather jacked.
I took a photo of myself over the weekend, almost exactly like that one.
Yeah.
I don't have it to share right now, though, unfortunately.
I mean, you're jacked. All you need is the cape. And you'd be all set.
My belly is jacked right now. That's about it.
So, yeah, and then they had some demos with some AI powered healthcare or research, like cancer research and healthcare applications, drug discovery, things like that. And just impressive, lest we forget in all of this talk about the NPU and tops and all that good stuff for Copilot plus PCs, which is an important inflection point as well. Hey, NVIDIA's been doing this for a mighty long time and is enabled it with all kinds of software tools to get the ecosystem cranking. So good stuff.
Yeah, lots of the AI foundation on the PC. NVIDIA did blaze a lot of the trail, so they should be getting more credit during this whole AI PC wave. But because we're kind of focused on low power notebooks for now and NPUs, the conversation has shifted. But NVIDIA did lay a lot of this foundation. And for the DIY PC guys, one thing NVIDIA did really cool at the show too, there was an actual new product. It's not necessarily a new product, but NVIDIA set small form factor guidelines for GeForce and outlined basically the dimensions and size of cards that will fit in a small form factor PC, and have like detailed the cards that fit within that specification, and cases will be conforming to that specification. So if you don't want to build a monster tower but you want a fast graphics card, that the GeForce guidelines for small form factor is pretty cool.
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah, good stuff for sure. And I was at Jensen's keynote, which was in another sports arena. It was the local college sports arena. An amazing show as always. In fact, he had in a lot of his, not in a lot, but in a few of his key narrative parts of demos, specific technology demos, his AI avatar came up on the screen and it sounded just like him and it looked a lot like him. And you could just barely tell it was a rendered Jensen. But yeah, I knocked it out of the park as usual with the spectacle of innovation. So
nice.
I gotta give him kudos for a great keynote, all right. Well, anyways, let's move on to some of the major announcements. Where do you want to start? You want to start Intel, Qualcomm, AMD? We're going to hit those three and try and. I mean, there was a lot to chew on.
Let's do Intel first.
All right. So let's talk about Lunar Lake, and I am going to open this in the. There we go on the scene there. Let me see if I can get this done. Marco, are you going to share? Or am I going to share?
You're probably better to share than me because I'll probably end up closing the stream.
All right, hang on a second. Hang on. Okay, so now I'm going to share screen, present. No, extra camera. Yeah. No, hang on a second. We may have a problem here. Share screen. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Window. Boom. All right, let's bring that into the stage. All right, let's scroll down here. And so the Lunar Lake deep dive, Intel fires back with a complete processor overhaul. There's Lunar Lake there. There's that little buddy. It's actually propped up in a cute little stand here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little touch closer for the folks. Oh, bang. There you go. That's a little better, huh? So, that's from the show floor, and it's in a little metal stand. But you can see Lunar Lake there, the tiled architecture in silicon in the center, and then two packaged DDR LPDDR5X DRAM, I do believe, right on the module. And so that's one of the major architecture changes, is that it's memory on package. And that gives quite a bit of advantage in terms of latency and bandwidth. Being so close, resident, unpackaged with the CPU. But there's lots more that goes with it, including a new fabric that is impressive. I'm getting Chewy ads now for my dog. Anyways, and yeah, lots of new stuff. So let's dive in. There's a Lunar Lake processor board as well. Kind of cool. Gotta love the pretty guts, right? As you can see, it looks like there's an M2 slot there for socketed SSD, but of course the memory is soldered. And you can get 16, 32, and actually I think that's it. I'm not sure you can get a 64 gig config of Lunar Lake. Can you?
I think there is. I think you can go up to 64.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I was trying to remember if it was Qualcomm that doesn't go up to 64 or if it was Lunar Lake. One of them doesn't. I know that. I have to check our facts on that. But anyways, let's talk about the ARC. You dove into it.
This was Zach, but I am familiar.
Yes, we both dove into it. And by the way, Intel had a very good deep dive in Taiwan at Computex. Very crisp, very well put together. And we did everything from CPU, E-cores and P-cores and GPU and NPU, which, by the way, now is Intel claims a 48 top NPU when this product hits in September. So, Marco, what do you know? What do you think?
Yes. So I think this is an amazing architecture, and it's going to be an amazing product. So just quickly, something too that's kind of got lost in the mix. The whole chip, well, not the whole chip. The dies are all manufactured at TSMC. The packaging is Intel. So Intel technology, obviously, to put all these tiles together, but all of those tiles are made at TSMC, not manufactured at Intel. So really interesting. But what's really wild, you have the latest Lion Cove P cores, which have got rid of hyperthreading. So it's really about peak responsiveness, single thread performance with the new P cores. You have the new Skymont E cores, which really perform just about on par with like 13th and 14th gen processors. So much more performant E-cores, but the whole platform, actually, wait a minute, and Intel Battlemage class graphics, right? So the Xe2 graphics engine, they're not based on existing ARC graphics. It's based on the future Battlemage graphics that will eventually be coming to desktop PCs too at some point as well. And you have the more powerful NPU. So every single engine upgraded, all of the links connecting them upgraded. The packaging incorporates memory on the package like Apple has done with the M series chips. So you have, much shorter wire lengths, more bandwidth, and less latency for that memory. And, and that also is going to reduce the size of PCBs and motherboards. So, perhaps larger batteries in some notebooks. But really, it's like an upgrade all around. And on top of that, Intel is claiming massive efficiency benefits too, to the point where Intel's claiming that it's more efficient than Snapdragon X Elite, which is a bold claim, right?
Claim. So yeah,
I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on Lunar Lake and seeing, how things shake out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's here's a sort of an explosion of the processor deconstruction, if you will. As you can see, it's built with Foveros technology. It's got a base tile connecting everything to the grid that connects to memory. But you've got a compute tile, a platform controller tile, and interestingly, a filler tile. I thought that was interesting. But Foveros technology with through silicon vias and silicon to silicon connectivity is key to this. Intel's advanced packaging in the chiplet arena really paying dividends. And the other thing is Skymont E-cores and Lionco P-cores are both single threaded. There is no more hyper-threading in Lunar Lake, at least for thin and light laptops. Not sure what we're going to see on the desktop for Arrow Lake. Am I getting that right? Yeah, Arrow Lake.
Yeah.
When that comes, that wasn't, that was hinted on the roadmap a couple of times by Intel. What are your thoughts about that? So we've got 4+4 configuration, 4 P cores, 4 E cores, single threaded, and I don't know. I certainly it's great for things like security and that kind of thing, and multi-threading isn't always the most efficient. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think in a notebook it makes sense, right? So you're still going to have 8 threads in a notebook, and if you're going to get more performance out of the P cores with better efficiency, the vast majority of stuff people do on a notebook, it's single threaded. So that responsiveness and that quickness is what you feel most of the time. And if Intel's claims are true, this is going to be an extremely responsive and high performance single thread machine. So I think the experience will be great. Now, how that translates to multi-thread, Intel did talk about some multi-thread performance and made claims it's going to outperform competitive parts with more cores. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I think like hyper-threading is really only going to benefit you if the workload you're running is multi-threaded and will take full advantage of all the CPU resources, which is not a lot of stuff. So if it's not, why not eliminate some of those extra transistors, make the architecture more efficient, and improve that responsiveness in single thread perf, or you know what I'm saying? So, obviously we're speculating. We don't have hardware in hand to do any testing, but I think for notebook is a lot of good decisions here.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we were questioning whether or not it went up to 64 gig. No, it's up to 32 gig with 2 ranks of LPDDR5X memory. But look at the bandwidth involved here: 8.5 gigatransfers per second per chip. So serious bandwidth. And they're talking, because again, this is memory on package, up to 40% lower PHY power, so physical layer power in the interface, the memory interface. So the memory to the memory controller. So obviously you get a package, savings as well, board area savings in this solution as well. But that's really going to be that memory bandwidth is really going to be a differentiating factor, and absolutely will come into play when you talk about AI performance. So
and
as we
graphics.
know, what's that?
And graphics.
And graphics. Yeah. Good point. Which, by the way, is Battle Mage. And we got a full data dump, Battle Mage derivative. We got a full data dump from Tom Tap Peterson, who's always great to see. Spent some time with him as well when I was out there. So these large language models, these generative AI, things like that, they take copious amounts of memory footprint and memory bandwidth. And so I think the memory bandwidth here is going to be to Intel's advantage. And frankly, I think that's why Apple did that with the M silicon as well, with memory on package. Now, this may change in the future. I don't think this is the way of the world for thin and light laptops for Intel necessarily always, but who knows, maybe. But yeah, very different sort of platform architecture.
Yeah, I think the sleeping giant has awakened, right? And Intel is really pushing hard. They have to execute, right? And I think it's interesting that all the tiles are manufactured at TSMC. Mm-hmm. If you need any convincing that Intel's packaging technology is class leading, just look at Ponte Vecchio. Like, the fact that thing exists is testament to Intel's packaging innovations. So I'm highly optimistic that Lunar Lake's going to be strong. We'll see.
Yeah. 15% increase in perf at the same power, 10% increase in perf per area, and 30% perf and power per area. I'm not sure how they're doing that. They're calculating that in the P core, but bold claims. One thing I can tell you is that Intel executives are extremely confident with this product. I was told they will have the fastest core. Okay, if you look at it core for core performance, they will have the fastest core on the market. Robert Halleck, as a matter of fact, was chest thumping to me over a beer, and and I can say this because it's not off record. At any rate, he was saying we will have the fastest core on in PCs, laptops, whatever, and that's versus Apple, versus AMD, and versus Snapdragon X, Qualcomm's product. We'll see. And they are very confident about the GPU as well, which is Battle Mage derivative. What was the claim on that? We have to get to that.
1.5x. I'm going to pop a comment up here because this is really it's an important thing to differentiate. And apologies if I pronounce the name wrong. Zevos. So he's saying memory on package doesn't give more bandwidth. The benefits are less power, and he's absolutely right. Right? There's nothing really super different about the interface being on package that's going to result in more bandwidth. But the lower wire latency and packaging this way will reduce errors and not overhead's not the right word. Effective bandwidth, even though you'll probably get the same peak numbers, effective may be a little bit higher with the lower latency, lower power. So there is going to be memory performance enhancements having it unpackaged like this.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about 8,500 gigatransfers per second, it's high-speed LPDDR5X. I was speaking more to that. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what Meteor Lake laptops top out at right now. I think they're in the 7s. I'd have to look. Anyways, yeah, absolutely right though. Yeah, it's but I think that the memory on package will show latency benefits as well. So yeah, XE2 Battle Mage graphics, and they are showing improving IP performance and efficiency. Here's a bunch of different vector render, mesh shader dispatch, different compute dispatch gains, as you can see. And yeah, it is there you go right there. That's the block. 8 XE cores, 64 vector engines, 2 geometry pipelines, 8 ray tracing units, and 8 meg L2 cache on board.
This is actually going to be super interesting to test graphics on Lunar Lake, right? Because it's probably going to give a glimpse into Battle Mage on desktop. It's going to be really cool,
right?
Oh, hey, we have the Tech Potato here. Ian's here.
What's happening, Ian?
Of course, does it really save board space with 4 PMIX? A couple of OEMs have said yes, that they will have smaller motherboards, but we'll see.
Yeah. So, and here you go, 1.5x versus previous gen, and then they show the power curve versus Meteor Lake. So, big gains. 1.5x on average is a big gain because Meteor Lake actually was solid. I mean, they were nipping at AMD's heels here and there, and I think depending on the game title or the application in terms of graphics rendering performance, they were kind of trading blows. So we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. Anything else? What's that?
The competition is good, man.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the Qualcomm stuff because we really spent a ton of time on this kind of stuff already. But just the fact that a third entrant came in, it seemed like Intel, AMD, and Qualcomm all just amped up the volume. So an exciting time, in the PC.
Yeah, babe. And they also brought out new VVC support. That's H.266 codec compression. So, versus HEVC, which is H.265, and AV1, which we've heard about for generations now, for at least a generation now. So VVC support in here as well, hardware decode. So, new stuff as well in the media engine, and we'll take it.
Yeah, man.
Intel. Anything else?
I think we should move on. We're half an hour in, and we only did Intel so far on one Intel product.
All right. Well, you did this deep dive. I'll drop it in here, and you did this deep dive, and man, the corner video ad is just bumming me out lately. It's because it's on desktop.
So, but before we jump to Snapdragon, Intel also talked Xeon 6 at Computex.
I'm sorry.
So the first wave of Xeon 6 based on E-cores, the Xeon 6 6700E series, which is going to hit the market first. That's codename Sierra Forest. I actually did get a server in, but it arrived too late to have benchmarks in the architecture piece. So Xeon 6 series just super fast. Intel's kind of segmented things out here where they're going to have E-core based Xeons and P-core based Xeons in both series of parts, and they have divergent sockets. So the 6700E series, obviously based on E-cores, 6700P series, obviously based on P-cores. Then there will also be the 6900 series, E and P. Again, E-cores and P-cores. Intel, again, claiming massive efficiency improvements, especially with the Sierra Forest and the all E-core parts, and socket core density wins up to 288 cores per socket. But with the P-core variant, you have the upgraded Lion Cove P-cores, which are going to improve performance, and up to 128 P-cores in the 6900 series. So and all Intel's accelerators are there, at least on the P-core based parts. All of the accelerators that we've talked about for the last couple generations are there. On the E-core based parts, if memory is serving correctly, and that's not a given considering how old I am, AMX is gone and AVX 512 is gone on the E-core parts. So those are more for like microservices and cloud-based stuff, and P-cores where you need maximum performance across everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's impressive to me is how they have closed the core density per socket gap when Sierra Forest arrives at 288 cores. I am very interested to see what a 128 core Xeon 6 all P-core device can do. That's going to be interesting. And you've got one in right now? You got Sierra Forest?
I have Sierra Forest here now. Yes.
Yeah. So when we get Ben, that's going to bang on that server you're setting up. Beautiful.
And so Ian just asked, will it compete with Turin? In some workloads, it's going to, right? So I'm sure you saw the blog post Intel put out yesterday refuting some of the numbers AMD talked about.
Good point.
Xeon. And they were showing Oh my God, Emerald Rapids 5th Gen Xeon outpacing the numbers for Turin in a chatbot test that AMD posted. So if Emerald Rapids can score a few wins, I would suspect that Granite Rapids is going to score some wins too. We'll see.
Yeah, I was trying to find,
Ian tooting his horn. He may have helped with that blog post. I'm not surprised.
Oh, really? Ian doesn't toot his horn ever.
No.
So these were the original claims. And as you can see, the gray bars down the bottom, way back behind Turin, which again hasn't arrived to market yet. I think that's is it Q3 or 4?
Which one?
For this year, I think they said. Not
Granite Rapids is later.
No. I was talking about Turin.
Oh, I don't remember.
Granite Rapids is Q3. At any rate, so here's the actual on that chat bot with for inference. Okay, that's something else to point out. The precision, the math involved here is very different. Int 4 is not common currently, but it does generally, quantitizing the model lower precision increases performance dramatically. At any rate, here you're looking at that compare in what Intel feels is their real number. So whether with a PyTorch extension enabled, their accelerators in 5th Gen Xeon come into play, and they actually feel that they can beat the Turin performance claim that was on AMD's graph. Interesting.
So actually, I'm going to pop a quick comment up, but we really got to switch to it.
Yeah, we do have to move along.
So Mike was saying, Emerald Rapids was rejected by the production chain as no more than intermediate tech between Sierra Rapids and Granite Rapids, and that was actually part of the discussion at the Emerald Rapids deep dive that Pat addressed directly. You're absolutely right. Like they brought when Granite Rapids ships, it's like 4 different Xeon upgrades in less than 2 years. It's just a massive number of chips to come out in that segment. So people were questioning, Intel, why are you bringing out, Emerald Rapids when Granite Rapids is coming? And it's because it's a better part than Sierra Rapids, right? It just is better. So I don't think it's obviously not going to have the same kind of appeal knowing Granite Rapids is coming, but it is better than Sierra. Sapphire Rapids. My God, I'm getting all the names mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
And we're getting some great insight and points from the audience today.
Yeah,
so,
I love it. Awesome.
Appreciate the input, Mike. Good job. That was Mike Brazzoni, right?
Yep.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? I like Mike. He's Italian sounding. Anyways.
No.
All right, so let's move right along to this fella right here, Snapdragon X, a deep dive look at the Orion CPU and Adreno GPU architectures that Qualcomm has put forth. Now, I actually got a chance to get some hands-on time with the Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus machines that are going to arrive in market on the 18th. Impressive models, I will say that. So what struck me before we get into the ARC is that Qualcomm secured design wins with virtually every major OEM: Dell, HP, Lenovo, Acer, Asus, and I think MSI is in there somewhere. At any rate, virtually all the major OEMs, and they scored major league brand or models as well. They didn't just get some off model, random Best Buy SKU. They got a Dell XPS. They got a Lenovo ThinkPad. They got an HP Elite book. These are the flagship models in these major brands, and that's kudos to them. I have never seen another silicon platform provider in a Dell XPS product except Intel. And so it's just like, wow, holy mackerel.
Yeah, I mean, so the Snapdragon X Elite messaging and launch, it's been very tightly managed by Qualcomm, right? Like we've been talking about it since October last year. And before that, after the Nuvia acquisition, knowing that those high performance cores were coming to Qualcomm. So we've been talking about the base technology for a long time. Right. But to date, literally everything that's been allowed to be published has been sort of controlled by Qualcomm. The first set of benchmarks, we didn't even get to touch the machines. The second round, when the Snapdragon X Plus was announced, I did actually do the, mess with the machines myself, but I didn't set up the software, right? So I'm very cautiously optimistic because, one, the whole ecosystem doesn't adopt a new technology like this so broadly without confidence, right? They're not just winging it. Microsoft would not put so much weight behind Qualcomm and announce them as the exclusive Copilot Plus, at least in the beginning, without confidence in the platform. The numbers look great, to this point, but until I've beat on retail hardware for a few weeks, you can't really draw any conclusions, but very cautiously optimistic. But fine. And now the Computex disclosures, we also to date, even though we had performance numbers, reference platform pictures of the chips, even though we've been talking about it for months, we didn't actually have the architecture to talk about. And now we do. So if you're super nerdy, and if you're here listening, you probably are, definitely come by the site because all of the pertinent slides are up there. So if you don't even want to hear us chat about it and you want to see the words direct from Qualcomm, you can see their slides there with all of the details. But what you'll basically see, right, you have a leading edge architecture with gobs of bandwidth, a high performance CPU cores, high performance GPU and NPU, in this really tightly integrated package. And with class leading wireless connectivity, the IO, it's PCIe Gen 4, but we're talking again low power notebook parts. So that part's not necessarily class leading, but in a notebook, not a huge deal. So overall, though, in terms of efficiency and realized performance, Snapdragon X Elite is looking incredibly strong in the mobile sector, and we're going to see real numbers very, very soon. They're shipping on the 18th, so excited to see how this all shakes out.
I've got the Dell XPS in now, and we are also receiving one of HP's machines shortly, one of our other team members, Ben. So we will be digging into this. But here's the architecture that you spoke of, Marco. Qualcomm Orion CPU, 10 or 12 cores, up to 3.8 gigahertz multi-thread boost, up to 4.3 dual core boost. So it is not multi-threaded. They're all single-threaded cores, but two of those cores can boost to 4.3 gigahertz, 42 meg of total on-chip cache, of shared cache. That is a big fat cache.
Well, it's 12 megs per 4-core cluster plus the last level cache.
Yeah. So it's fat. It's got fat cache in there. It's got the Adreno GPU, which they're saying is 4.6 T flops. I think that's going to be interesting to see how Adreno competes. And certainly, whether if it's a native game, fine. If it's an emulation on Windows with Prism, that's going to be interesting to watch how that plays out. And then, of course, what's that?
No, I just wanted to say, so we had a question about, what are the chances, where the chat's flying
game developers
here. Yeah. Someone had just asked, Nick had just asked right here, what are the chances game developers provide native ARM support? It's definitely coming. I believe Unreal Engine, and there's other stuff that is ARM native. But the other thing to consider, the CPU cores are so performant that some games, and I've witnessed this, some games even under emulation, because the CPU core is so high performance, they actually run better than competing architectures, right? So even under emulation, some games will run better on this. But now again, you're talking an integrated GPU, so it's not going to be some high performance gaming machine, but it's the performance should be pretty good.
Yeah. And then the Hexagon NPU, 45 tops NPU. I think this is what's going to be interesting for all of this, Copilot Plus, AI PC, buzz and fanfare that's going on right now, is how the NPUs compete, the various NPUs. So we know when we're going to get to AMD's Ryzen AI 300 series, they have a 50 tops NPU, they're claiming. And by the way, when we talk about tops, we're talking about one single math precision, which is 8-bit. So int 8 precision is what we're all couching these or measuring these tops on the NPUs, these tops measurements. There isn't a model on the planet that has only int 8 precision required. It's a mixed precision landscape, and so it's this is all relative sort of ballpark numbers. But AMD's got say their NPU is 50 tops at Xilinx technology still, by the way. Intel is saying 48 in Lunar Lake, and here Qualcomm says 45. The interesting thing is going to be how the software ecosystem is enabled to take advantage of those NPUs and what that net performance is combined with the software involved, right?
Yep.
So
that's actually like super important, right? It's not only is a lot of the numbers being tossed around or a single data type, but if you can't realize those tops because your software is not there, it doesn't really mean anything, right? And then you also have tons of these workloads are memory bandwidth bound and memory capacity bound. So there's going to be a lot more to this than that top number once we all figure out how to play with this stuff and sort of quantify everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we alluded to earlier, up to 64 gigs of LPDDR5X memory. It looks like they're actually right in the ballpark with Intel on memory bandwidth, 8.448 megatransfers per second. So 8.5 megatransfers per second, 8-channel memory controller. And then, not to be dismissed casually, Qualcomm Fast Connect 7800. So Wi-Fi 7 built in, Snapdragon X 65 5G modem with sub-6 and millimeter wave support. And then the Spectra ISP for the camera prowess that is Qualcomm's lineage in smartphones these days. I mean, I have the OnePlus 12 Pro, and it's the OnePlus 12, excuse me. It's pretty fabulous. Great camera stuff there. So I think you'll see quality cameras in these laptops as well. And so,
that's like another really like this is that's like this experiential thing that people don't talk about a lot with notebooks. But
right.
Qualcomm's camera ISP is awesome, right? So if you're going to be able to do segmentation on the fly and just the output from your cameras looks better, and your notebook's going to have much better battery life, and performance is really good. The platform seems like a winner. I need to play with retail hardware.
Yeah. Sanchez MTZ says laptop giveaway. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure we can work something out. Yeah. Someone's going to want to give them away.
And then I don't know. No, James, I have not, to my knowledge.
I was literally just going to ask you about that, but I think it was a project where OpenVX came up and not this stuff. So we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, James. But
while you were chatting about Wi-Fi, Zevos was asking, do we know how good Qualcomm's Wi-Fi Bluetooth modules are? Qualcomm's Bluetooth is awesome. Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi 7 stuff, I haven't tested. There was a time where I would say Intel's Wi-Fi was the best in notebooks and not always Qualcomm, but I'm not sure I could say that this generation. So we will see.
Well, I'm actually kicking the tires on that right now. And I do not have a Wi-Fi 7 capable network in my home office, but I do have a Wi-Fi 6E router. And this one machine I'm testing, throughput over the NIC is excellent, as is range. I mean, I have a gig fiber connection, Fios, and I think I was pulling close to 800 megs a second on the Wi-Fi, which was like, wow, okay. So yeah, I'm seeing strong performance so far. How that fares relative to competitive platforms, I'd want to do some additional testing, but so far so good.
Awesome, cool.
And then there's the cores. You can see the L2 cache divided up between cores, and that it's a strong topology. It's not big little. They're all big cores for all intents and purposes. If you want to get into the weeds about branch prediction and all that good stuff, there you go. Marco put it together for you. I put a link in the chat. Here you go. Fully coherent 12 meg, 12-way shared cache per 4-core cluster.
Yeah, it's 12 megs per 4-core cluster and a 6 meg last level cache.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Or is it 9? I can't do math today. I don't remember.
What's that?
I can't do math. It's either a 6 or a 9 meg. It's 6. It's a 6. Yeah.
It's Friday, and we've been
I'm exhausted.
drinking bits and bites from the fire hose for weeks now.
Yep.
So yeah, you and me both. So, and then of course security is important too. And one of the things,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just let the AI snoop on all of our stuff.
I'm
and then,
kidding.
And then who cares about security? You know, let's have recall snapping everything on our laptop, and then we don't need to secure it. Hackers can have that fun little playground. I think that's going to be, and we should talk about that real quick. Security is an important thing, and I think it's getting downplayed in this new AI PC narrative. I have seen Intel recently talk about that, where they're talking about AI or NPU or AI machine learning acceleration for things like threat detection, intrusion detection, threat prevention, all that kind of stuff, packet inspection, and and pattern matching and whatnot. And that kind of thing we need to see more of. I think they talked with CrowdStrike. They had maybe it was another forgetting. Was it Trend Micro? Yeah, Trend Micro had a demo, I believe. And I'm trying to remember if that was Intel or not. It may have been Qualcomm actually, but at any rate, yeah, more AI assisted security app software, enablement is huge, because we are just putting our lives into these things now.
Yeah, and an NPU is kind of like the perfect scenario for that. Like this low power can always run in the background and leave your CPU cores free for other stuff. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So anything else on Snapdragon X?
We could probably go for an hour, but we're 48 minutes in and we still have AMD to talk about.
We got to talk about AMD, but here's the curve and then we'll finish up. Performance curve. This is Orion CPU performance versus P-cores and Intel, and then AMD Ryzen 7900 series is what they've got in here. They don't have 8900 in here, and certainly Ryzen AI 300 series is going to change a little bit the picture as well, or significantly, as the case may be. We'll get to that shortly. But as you can see, they're claiming Core Ultra, even Core Ultra 9 superior performance. Good stuff.
Like the real fight is going to be in 6 months, right? Because we need all the software to shake out, and we need Lunar Lake and Ryzen AI 300 versus Snapdragon X after Windows and all of the frameworks have had time to mature. That's when the real fight happens. But it's good that we can have this discussion and have all this cool stuff coming. And this is actually a really important point that Zivos just mentioned, that the Orion CPU, was essentially designed and has acceleration for x86 emulation. The previous gen Snapdragon HCX architecture, like that was good. And Microsoft sort of torpedoed that whole platform.
Yeah,
it wasn't ready, right? It just wasn't ready when it first launched. But it's good. I keep a Snapdragon powered Surface here just to keep updating it and play with it. And it's so much better now than when it came out. But both Microsoft and Qualcomm obviously learned a ton from that experience, and both of them worked together to bring this platform out. And I think that's part of the reason why it's looking so strong. Qualcomm didn't just wing it, and Microsoft kind of is invested now in Windows on ARM. So this kind of coming together is very interesting. We'll see how this all plays out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the claims that Microsoft gave for Prism, which is their emulation, is that it's better than Apple's Rosetta, which we barely even talk about anymore.
I believe we had the CEO of ARM saying, I believe he said within 5 years, he thinks ARM can take 50% of the PC market share. Like that would be just a seismic shift. So we'll see, man.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, let's move along. Let's talk about this fella right here. This is the Ryzen AI 300 series from AMD, which was announced at Computex, and world's best processor for Copilot Plus PCs is what they are claiming. You have Zen 5 CPU cores. You have AMD XDNA 2 and a new NPU that is up from, I think it was 15 tops to now 50. And then you have RDNA 3.5 graphics. Radeon 880M, I believe, is what's on board these processors. So 50 tops NPU, 12 cores, up to 12 cores, 24 threads. That's interesting. More cores. And then next gen GPU with up to 16 compute units. We've got two SKUs they've talked about, a 12 core 24 thread and a 10 core 20 thread. Max boost of 5 gigahertz for the 10 core, 5.1 for the 12 core, 36 megs of cache on board. And then again, Radeon 890M, they're calling on the Ryzen AI 9 HX370. And then the 880M is on the Ryzen AI 9 365, the 10 core jammy. So and then of course they give you the decoder ring, but there's the NPU, 5x up to 5x the compute capacity, up to 2x the power efficiency. World's most powerful NPU for next gen AI PCs is what they are claiming. What do you think about all this?
So we still haven't gotten deep dive Zen 5, right? So we're just going high level here. But again, we have new CPU core architecture, updated GPU core architecture, updated NPU, faster IO. Like it's looking like a super strong platform. Now, in terms of efficiency, like AMD really hasn't gotten the fanfare they should have gotten. I've been rocking a ZenBook powered by 6000 series. Is it 6000 series Ryzen, and I love it. Like the machine's been so good to me. It's been awesome. So, if all the performance claims bear out in the real world and it's more efficient versus AMD's previous gen, this is going to be a rocking platform too, right? This is going to be a really high performance single thread, high performance multi-thread, high performance AI engine with, one of the, in terms of software support, you can make an argument that's going to have the best integrated GPU as well, right? So this is looking really strong to me also, right? So Zen 5, I think it was 16% IPC average IPC uplift.
That's the average claim,
really that's a massive single generation IPC uplift. And then you also got to consider, it's a big small design with Zen 5 and Zen 5C, but Zen 5C is not really small. It just eliminates some stuff that doesn't have a massive impact on performance at all. So this is going to be another really intriguing platform to play with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a natural for more larger form factor, whether you're talking a 16-inch thin and light or a little bit more full-featured machines. I wonder what the power is going to look like. That will be interesting in terms of battery life and whatnot. But this was interesting to me as well in terms of the NPU. They have 8-bit, of course, performance. And then they have block FP16 support now. So I want to understand.
So does Lunar Lake, though. Like Lunar Lake has it too.
Yeah, I know, but block FP16 is different. Did you get a clear understanding on that? It's their sort of pseudo FP16.
I don't have a perfect understanding of it, but apparently, AMD is saying that you could, without quantitization, right? You get the performance benefits. But I think like right after that slide hit, Halleck was tweeting out like, we have this too. So like it wasn't a differentiator, but I'm not going to pretend that I fully have that grasp.
Right. Yeah. No, I want to look more into that, understand it better. Probably should ring up one of the product engineers at AMD, the architecture folks, to understand that a little better. I'd like to understand a little better.
Just so, for everybody watching, just so you understand, we got all of the AMD stuff, all of the NVIDIA stuff, all of the Intel stuff and a deep dive on the Qualcomm stuff over the span of a few days, right before the show. So it's been nuts to fully process all
Still digging out. Here's the performance compares. This is versus Snapdragon X Elite. Responsiveness 5% better. They're saying in productivity 10%, multitasking 30%, and graphics 60%. That's a bold claim. Here it is versus Apple M3. They don't have graphics here, but they have 3D rendering, Blender. 98% gain over Apple M3. Multitasking, you can see that's Cinebench. Video editing is Adobe Premiere, and then Procyon productivity, UL Procyon sort of desktop productivity 9%. That's versus Apple M3. And then they're comparing versus Core Ultra 185, Core i9 Ultra 185 with Intel here, and not Lunar Lake, because obviously they don't have the benefit of that being in market currently. Big, bold performance claims. I will say that.
Absolutely.
They've got they announced support from ecosystem brand OEM partners Acer, Asus, HP, Lenovo, MSI. I saw a few, I think it was Acer and MSI and Asus machines at Computex, and they were looking good. Again, a little bit larger thin and lights. A lot of 16-inch. There's a couple of 14s. So we'll have to see how the power looks. They're talking 28 watt TDP with a 15 to 54 watt configurable. So that's a big range.
Yep.
TDP.
Yeah, it's gonna vary widely from machine to machine, I think. You know, and that's everyone. If you want to build an efficient design and go thin, you configure it for the low TDP. If you want to kind of build a more powerful cooling solution, bigger notebook, and crank out as much as you can, you could do that too.
All right, so let's move on to the desktop because we are running out of time.
Yep.
AMD Ryzen 9000 desktop CPUs bring efficient Zen 5 performance to socket AM5. So, hey, good news. Ryzen 9000 will be socket AM5 compatible. And if you have an a 670 or 670E motherboard, something like that, it'll, with a BIOS update, drop right in. And here's the layout, the product family. Ryzen 9 9950X was announced, 16 core, 32 thread, up to 5.7 gigahertz max boost. That's nice. Ryzen 9 9900X 12 core, 9700X 8 core, and 9600 6 core. All of them are multi-threaded, so 32, 24, and 16 and 12 threads respectively. And up to 170 watt TDP, as low as 65 watt TDP. Zen 5, again, we talked about a little bit earlier with respect to the mobile offering from AMD, 16% average IPC uplift, which is an impressive gain. And what are your thoughts on this? Again, we didn't get the deep dive. We know it's get better branch prediction and accuracy and better latency in the improved branch prediction mechanisms. Higher throughput. It's a wider machine, deeper window size for better parallelism. Up to 2x the instruction bandwidth, up to 2x the data bandwidth, L2, L1, and then AI performance via AVX 512 throughput, so up to 2x AVX 512 throughput. What are your thoughts, Marco?
I think this platform for DIYers is going to kick ass, right? To have the higher powers and 5 cores. With there's also an X870 chipset coming that's USB 4 standard, PCIe 5 for graphics and storage standard on X670 and X870 and X870E. I think it's going to rock. I wish they announced all of the parts, including the X3D parts at the same time, but you got to segment it out here. That high IPC uplift, in terms of like the chip configure, the family, they're not all that different from the 7000 series in terms of core counts, cache, clocks, minor variations here and there. But you tune you tune the power delivery, you get that massive IPC uplift in the new architecture, you have more bandwidth internally and externally, and that's a massive platform upgrade. So another one, cautiously optimistic. Our hearts are in enthusiast desktop PC, so I do think this platform is going to kick ass, when it arrives, versus everything that's in market now, and then we'll see what Intel has for next gen.
Yeah. Here's the gain for Zen 5, 16% IPC uplift. This is a geometric geomean versus Zen 4, their previous architecture. As you can see from Far Cry 6 all the way over on the left, 10% gain. That's more of a GPU heavier game.
Yeah, can I jump in on here?
Yeah.
On this slide. So like if you look at this slide, right, AMD's being really conservative, right?
Yeah.
16% geomean versus Zen 4. But look at this stuff where it's much more, and look at the stuff where it's below. No one cares about no one cares about 3D Mark Physics or a Far Cry 6, right, where it's 10%. But in Blender, League of Legends, Cinebench, those are much bigger gains. And then of course, older Geekbench, where it all kind of fits inside the chip, you get that huge 35%
in the cache. No, absolutely. The Blender gain of 23% is monumental. League of Legends is probably, I haven't really looked at what that requires, but it's a lighter duty graphics game. I'm sure it's more CPU sensitive, and so you get a nice big gain there.
Most important chat comment that has to consider: application proof is yet to be validated. Amen. Right. That's why we need to get retail stuff in hand and test it. But
yes, sir.
I will say with every previous gen AMD launch, especially the very first Ryzen launch, they underpromised, and AMD underpromised and over-delivered in terms of IPC and performance. So I don't expect this to be that far out of whack with the real world.
Yeah. And here's the compare versus 14900K Intel 14900K. You look at that Cinebench 21% gain, Blender 56% gain, and then some gaming on the right hand side, Cyberpunk 2077 13% gain, and like F1 2023 16% gain. Let's see what's over on the right. Oh, Horizon.
Another thing to note though with these numbers, right? All of the previous 14900K reviews are like out the window with the changes Intel had to make to the BIOSes due to all the instability that was coming. So all the testing is going to have to be redone for this launch, and 14900K isn't going to look as strong as it did when it first launched, right? Keep that in mind.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. It is going to be a very interesting July. Is this all hitting? This is all hitting in July, right? Yeah. For AMD,
I don't remember, but it's going. I think it's July for both the mobile and the desktop.
That's like next month,
Yeah,
so,
I know.
and again, the chips will drop into X670, 70E motherboards, but AMD also is releasing new chipset for motherboards, X870 and 870E. USB 4 standard on all, PCI Gen 5 for graphics, and NVMe on all, and higher AMD Expo memory clock support on X870 and X870E. Crap, may have to go get us some 870 boards, huh?
Definitely. And that's I'm going to retest 7000 series in an X870E board too. So I'm going to get a head start on Intel retesting, and then wait to retest all the AMD stuff on the same board. So lots of work coming up.
Yeah, I got to say, I haven't had a lot of luck with Expo on my 670 platforms. I've always had to tame things down, and that could be a motherboard, OEM issue. I don't know, but I hope things get better for Expo. Let me just say that.
Yeah, it's way better than launch. My test machine's right next to me. That's why I keep looking over here. But it's
I'm looking at
it's been working fine with the G-Skill memory kit that I have over here.
Yeah. What else should we talk about? Data center for AMD.
Let's just quickly. We're already over hours, so let's just
Yeah.
run through what we had up on the site. So we have the details for Epic Turin. There is an article up on the site if you want to learn about AMD's next gen data center processor.
I'll drop a link into the chat.
Yeah, while you're dropping the links, I'll rattle everything off. AMD also announced the MI325X and some roadmap stuff for their AI accelerators. We have an article up on that. And like a little under the radar sort of product, AMD also announced at Computex a Radeon Pro W7900 dual slot version. The original is a triple slot card, so if you want to do like a massive multi GPU setup, you really can only fit 2 in any standard tower maximum. But with the new dual slot, you can get 4, and each one's got 48 gigs of RAM on there. So if you're doing any sort of LLM work and you want GPUs with massive memory, you can now get up to 4 7900s in a rig. So that's another new product. And so between that, I think that's everything. So we had Epic Turin, MI325X, Radeon W7900DS, Ryzen 9000 desktop, and Ryzen AI 300 mobile. So lots of stuff from AMD.
Yeah, MI300X is a gain in memory, HBM3E, excuse me, now up to 288 gigs on a module. So, wow, that's going to be interesting to see. But it's not going to be, it's the same architecture, CDNA 3, I believe, and CDNA 4 and 5 are on the roadmap. By the way, AMD committed to an annual cadence on AI accelerator execution. So, every year we'll see a new architecture. So, man, that is an aggressive rollout strategy. And so AMD Instinct is going places. And they also noted that it was the quickest product, and go figure, I mean, with all the massive demand on AI in the market these days, it was the quickest ramp to $1 billion for a product release in company history for the MI300X.
Yep.
So MI325X with HBM3E coming up next. And I'm trying to think what the time frame was on that, but at any rate, this year, I want to say, I'll have to dig, but
it's probably right in that last paragraph.
Yeah, I'm like
scrolling by,
dude. There was so much to absorb. It was just crazy. 350 MI350 will arrive in 2025. So,
it's second half. Second half.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, and yeah, I mean, 5th gen EPYC. 192 cores, 384 threads, same SP5 socket as Genoa, second half of 2024. Man,
there you go.
Bringing it. They're bringing it too. And love to see it, right?
Absolutely.
All right, we should probably wrap because we're over time.
Yeah, we're way over time and we didn't get near as much detail, but so come by the site. We'll throw some show notes in with links to everything. Definitely look through the chat because everybody, Mike's been putting in
good
some
questions
great information.
today, yeah.
So if you're watching this, after the fact, definitely scroll through the live chat. Lots of cool stuff. And if you would, to help support us and the channel, if you're not already, like and subscribe, and leave a comment after the fact just to get that YouTube algorithm loving us a little bit more.
Bootman, we'll finish up with your comment. It's so optimistic. This epic will be remembered as the AI rush. I hope there will be people to remember it. Well, I don't think we're going to have an AI doomsday anytime soon, but we do have to get good control of it, as we have already noticed with Microsoft pulling back recall after people freaked out about privacy concerns. But anyways, that's a story for another cast, right?
Absolutely. I think I don't think the AI is going to kill us anytime soon. Some jobs are probably going to have to change quite a bit, but we'll see.
Yeah. At any rate, stop by the site at hothardware.com, twitter.com/hothardware, youtube.com/hothardware. We're everywhere. Facebook, you name it. We're on Twitch. We didn't stream to Twitch today. Sorry about that, folks. We're getting a StreamYard snag squared away on our subscription, and we'll get that fixed up. But yeah, swing by and check us out, and hit thumbs up and subscribe, please, so you get notified when we go live with these streams. We are probably going to be moving to a more midweek slot than Fridays. Stay tuned for that. It's been tough to juggle the streams with all the traveling and work we've been doing, but we're going to get better at that, I promise. Until then, well, actually, one more thing. We're going to work on that laptop giveaway. Maybe we'll have a Snapdragon X laptop giveaway. We'll see. But until then, we have to thank everyone kindly for stopping by.